don't understand. How you know, oh Lord, I've gone. It's in my heart, and baby, down in my soul. You, baby, you can't take it no more. No, I know I'm walking out that door the way it treated me too many times before. Don't you know you love me, baby, too? Oh, you know I want you there, I want to be right there with you. I know I gotta keep you by my side till the day I die. Cause baby, ecstasy is in my hand. Oh, when I'm holding yours in mine and walking in the sand. Oh, baby, you know it's fine. But now you done and piss me off. You ain't done something you shouldn't have done. Baby, I'm mad. I'm going on. Oh, I'm going on.
Okay, so I tried
to make it back before the song looped around. Almost dead. Stuff from the store. Oh, cigarettes. Good. Those are good. Best kept off the camera because you know my backdrop looks shitty enough without that. Oh yeah, backdrop. So I'm scheduled to be sleeping right about now because hatch night's tomorrow night, and I go to feed my reef tank right there. And of course, the first thought I had is, please be sand. You just kicked up some sand on yourself, didn't you? Just shake it off. Shake it off, please. If I name you Taylor Swift, will you shake it off? No, her name is Orihime, and she has ick, also known as Cryptocaryon. But it did not come from saltwaterfish.com. You may be aware, if you've joined me on previous videos, that she is an online purchase. But before that, we got Tatsuki, the ORA Onyx, Picasso Onyx. Beautiful fish. All of the fish that she came in with, that were in the tank with her when we went there, they died within a week. I've treated her a couple times. She eats really well. She's a clownfish. You know. But her and Kenny, the male that I have with her right now, both are going to have to get pulled in addition to Orihime, because at this point they're the source for it. And that's all I can do. I don't have the ability to pull all of these fish. I have in this system 3 pairs of broodstock, a blue damsel, 2 mandarins, well, also broodstock, a flame angel, 7 nano clownfish, and 20 other baby clownfish and grow out. And that's in 100 gallons networked system. So my other system consists of 10 gallons sitting side by side. One of those 10 gallons has 8 fish in it. Clownfish grow out. The other has little baby beyond nano fish named Squirmy. We had 2 deformed fish with like unclosable jaws. One was named Jaws and one was named Squirmy. Jaws jumped, poor little guy. I mean, he hung on for a good long time. I mean, he could barely eat. Like I'd like specialize the food that I'd give him. You know, just when you're feeding a whole bunch of fish, it's kind of a pain in the ass to go and get a little bit of extra something else for 2 little guys that can't eat the regular size stuff. But I give them a lot of live plankton and stuff. But anyways, the remaining one is Squirmy, and he's got to go in the 2.5 gallon in the bedroom, which means I need to do a water change on that with the water that he's used to right now. And then I've basically got to clean out that 10 gallon, which is currently like a fully cycled, covered in copepods mess. And that would be the lower 10 gallon beneath my 29. The one on the right, that's basically bare bottom. Gonna clean that one out because it's the easiest one to clean out. My other alternative would be to use the 10 gallon that I have as a reservoir. But then, you know, that's my reservoir, so that just kind of, it's worth it to clean the other one out, even though this one's already sitting there clean. It's worth it to clean this one out, because, you know, it's something that eventually needs to be done anyways, because that's why I left it bare bottom to begin with. The only drawback of that is I'm not going to be able to integrate it. I'm going to be using cking Pristine for the biofilter. and cking Paragard for the ick treatment. I'm going to combine that with the clean out method, okay, which is basically every third day, so 2 days and then the third day, 2 days and then the third day, you clean out the tank. And because it's an angelfish, I'm going to be probably treating them in this tank for a while. To make sure that she's good and cured. You can't use copper on angelfish. You shouldn't use copper on broodstock. In fact, as you may know if you've been following my channel for years, was treated with copper. And she's the female that I'm having trouble getting to create gametes and actually spawn. So it is 9 a.m. Central Standard Time here in the land of Slaughter, Louisiana. And I need more coffee before I get started. So I guess I'm going to put some CNN on. We can watch that for a little while, and hopefully the regular people will show up and chat. Anybody? Sign in if you've just joined me, or if you have any questions about treating ick or suggestions. I'm always open to suggestions. But been doing this for 30 years, so that's why I'm, oh no, I got ick. Again. I'm not going to lose a fish. Nope. Well, excuse me. I might jinx myself with that, but if you are hearing a small echo, sorry about that. Hope it's not too bad. I need to check out one of the videos that have been filmed like this. I have 2 cameras going, as you see, and they both have their own little microphones, because I'm just an IT guy. I'm not a videographer. Or ex-IT guy. I'm a 10 years out of date IT guy, which basically means that I'm like Thomas Edison trying to run the internet. Like, anyways. That coffee sucks. I'm gonna have to get some more with a little more kick to it, and then I'll be back after I knock down that cable. What the hell is going on here? Okay. Oh, and make sure you leave your cell phone plugged in so it falls on the floor. That's good. Story. Fire and fury. Ta-da.
An advisor repeatedly tried to set up a meeting with Russian officials, including Vladimir Putin. We're going to tell you who that advisor was and what the meeting was. No, necessarily.
Really?
There 2 days to come out and clearly denounce racist and white supremacists is shame. supremacists after he pushed his fiancée out of the way. Marcus, not Marcus. Marcus and his fiancée Marissa Blair are going to join us at 7 a.m. Eastern
On that interview, it was awesome.
After Charlotte.
It was incredible to hear from her yesterday. Now you're going to hear from them together. Pretty remarkable.
That was a good interview, seriously.
Finding it pretty hard to laugh in the wake of what has transpired in Charlottesville, and since President Trump's response to that violence, nearly reducing Jimmy Fallon to tears. His emotionally charged monologue,
Even the late-night comics were getting serious last night in the wake of that deadly violence in Charlottesville and President Trump's response. Take a listen.
The fact that it took the president 2 days to come out and clearly denounce racist and white supremacists is shameful. One brave woman in Charlottesville, Heather Heyer, died standing up for what's right at the age of 32. I can't look at my beautiful, growing, curious daughters and say nothing when this kind of thing is happening.
There were two sides, not many sides.
Amen, brother.
One of those sides had Nazis on it. All you have to do is condemn the Nazis. If only the president was as mad about neo-Nazis murdering people in the streets as he's been about Hillary Clinton, the New York Times, CNN, Joe Scarborough, Kristen Stewart, the cast of Hamilton, Diet Coke, Nordstrom's not selling his daughter's clothes, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mayor of London, the state of New Hampshire, Gold Star Families, Angela's Las Vegas show, the movie Django Unchained, Meryl Streep, and Lady Ghostbusters.
It's an odd day when you don't have to exaggerate reality to make a parody. But that's where we are. So let's bring back the panel. Errol Lewis, Karen Demergent, and Jeff Zeleny.
How's that?
So, look, you know, this is one of those moments where the country takes its own measure, Errol. And the president had an opportunity. He didn't take it for whatever reason. And then he did take it. And then he did something right after taking it, retweeting. This is not just another blogger. This is just, you know, this isn't one of us. This is somebody who peddles to the fringe, who peddled Pizzagate, who peddled Seth Rich. And you have to believe that the president knew what he was doing when he retweeted this guy, that it wouldn't be just retweeting another opinion maker.
That's right. He knows full well, and while he doesn't have a background,
yeah, it's the two microphones thing.
President Trump actually
I was thinking the distance would make a difference, but it's the electrical connection.
Sort of steering his way through the thicket that brought him to the White House in the first place. So I see that as just sort of a wink and a nod back to the people that he is relying on or trying to cater to in some sense, and sort of saying, I'm not completely gone. You know, I'm still sort of here. There's a little ambiguity here. I think also, though, you know, we know that he watches this show and other morning shows and is an avid watcher of the news. But he's also an entertainer as part of his background. I think it cuts him to the quick that the late night comics are going after him. Because what is he going to do? Call them fake comedy? No, he understands that the culture is moving in a direction that is at odds with this sort of game of footsie he's been playing with the extremists. He's going to have to figure out whether he wants to sort of write off a very large chunk of the country in order to play to this base and be the president of his base as opposed to president of the United States.
By the way, we should know this is not the majority of his base, right? This is not a majority of any Americans. This is a fringe, hateful, un-American part of this country. Karn, to you, last night in North Carolina, we saw another Confederate statue was brought down by protesters. There you see it right there, a Confederate soldier. There are more than 700 of these that remain across the country. And I think if you don't live in the South and they're not around you, you know, they're not here in New York City and they're not part of our everyday lives, what they stand for, the hate that they stand for, sort of the anti-Abraham Lincoln message that they stand for is being fought physically here. This is a symbol, certainly, and it is evidence of how so many Americans are feeling right now. Is this the beginning, you believe, of a lot more to come?
I think, yes. I mean, I don't think that this is over or self-contained in one weekend. It led to this point from origins that started before this point. It's not going to simmer down because this is not really over. I think a lot of people are frustrated. You'll probably see various other towns and municipalities and counties or whoever controls the areas in which these statues exist, having discussions about whether they should take them down, much like we talked about nationally when it came to the Confederate flag, and much like, was the I guess the touch-off point for much of why people gathered and congregated together in Charlottesville, although, like I said, there were other fueling factors there too, because you had these movements looking for a reason to be able to get together, basically, and make this sort of a stand. But in places like North Carolina, I mean, I believe there's many parts of North Carolina where the process is either impossible to get the statues removed quickly, and so you've seen protesters take matters into their own hands, like in that video that you just showed. There is frustration now with authorities up the chain because people felt like they shouldn't have had to wait so long for the president to make these statements. There's concern in the country that people really need to not let this go, not let this moment go, to make the point of these symbols, these movements, they are not okay. And so I think that you will see this continue elsewhere. North Carolina is a good example of that. You'll see this push and pull between much smaller groups that are espousing these messages of hate and white supremacy and the rest. Maybe take steps where they're trying to promote these issues. You saw in Boston, you saw the Holocaust Memorial was damaged yesterday as well. And then you will see, others that want to defend the country's moral standing and say these measures and these statues and everything else is wrong. Take measures too, as we saw in North Carolina.
And the president's reluctance has wound up translating into making him a symbol of something to be resisted in that way. Let's just show what happened in front of Trump Tower last night. The president coming home. Ordinarily, you'd expect to be a celebration with thousands of people out there who were very much focused, Jeff Zeleny, on what had happened in Charlottesville and, playing to these
this is crazy.
types. And they were angry. They were out there. Now, politically, in terms of why the president did or did not do certain things with respect to this issue and other ones that seem to cater to the same base instincts, Steve Bannon's name keeps coming up. We know that he is reportedly laying low right now. What do you make of the reporting on the stability of Bannon within the White House and the basis of saying, well, that's why the president comes up with these ideas is because of Steve Bannon? Do you buy that?
I don't buy that, Chris. I mean, the reality is President Trump is the one who's in charge of what he says, what he thinks he believes, what he doesn't say. So this is not a Steve Bannon phenomenon, a Steve Bannon blame. Steve Bannon is on thin ice, and he is on thin ice in the West Wing, not because of Charlottesville, actually because of very different things. And I think it's far too early to say Steve Bannon will be leaving the president's side. He's been on thin ice before. He has repeated lives here. He's probably working up toward his 9 lives. But the reality here is the president made the decision, his instinctive decision on Saturday, to not address this initially. Yes, he talked to Steve Bannon on the phone. Yes, he talked to other advisors. But this is not something that that you can blame Steve Bannon for. Separately, the reason that there is some anger inside the president's circle of advisors, including Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, Ivanka Trump, his daughter. They've been mad at Steve Bannon for a long time, but they believe that that he has, for one, been responsible for some of the leaks against H.R. McMaster, the national security advisor. There's been this alt-right uprising against H.R. McMaster here, and that is largely has some Steve Bannon fingerprints on it. So we'll see if he maintains and sticks around here. But to conflate Charlottesville necessarily with Bannon, he has more issues than that, Chris.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, panel. Another story for you. Newly released emails reveal a former Trump campaign advisor repeatedly tried to set up a meeting with Russian officials, including Vladimir Putin. We're going to tell you who that advisor was and what the meeting was supposed to be about and why it never took place. Next.
This is the untold story.
Defense Secretary James Mattis warning North Korea if it fires on Guam, quote, then it's game on. Hours later, North Korean media reporting that Kim Jong-un has reviewed final plans to, quote, envelop Guam in fire, but will hold off to see what, quote, the foolish Yankees do.
Iran's president this morning threatening to quit the 2015 nuclear deal within hours as the U.S. hits the country with more sanctions. Earlier this month, President Trump signed into law new sanctions against Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Iran's parliament has since passed a bill outlining plans to, quote, counter U.S. terrorist measures in the region.
Former Trump advisor George Papadopoulos made at least 6 attempts in 2016 to set up a meeting between campaign officials and top Russian leaders, including President Trump. But campaign chairman Paul Manafort and others had concerns, so the meeting never took place. The Washington Post first reported this story. Papadopoulos is a self-described oil and gas consultant.
President Trump caving to pressure, finally calling white supremacists and other hate groups out by name. Critics, though, saying it is too little and it is too late. Is there anything the president can do to reverse the damage? We'll discuss.
Any reporter with a cell phone had received calls from people around the president saying that we were wrong, that he got it, that his initial response was measured because that's what the situation called for. You'd see when he stepped up now, he would say the right thing. He would call out people and start to unite this country. And yet right after his do-over, he retweeted propaganda from a right-wing conspiracy theorist. So let's discuss what this means with CNN political commentator Simone Sanders and Brunel Donald Che, former vice chair of diversity outreach for the National Diversity Coalition for Trump. Thanks to both of you for being with me this morning. Simone Sanders, am I falsely combining or connecting these two events? Do you see it the same way, that the president coming out in one moment and saying, these groups, the KKK, white supremacists, they're bad, what they do is evil, what they espouse is evil, and then this retweet from somebody who's pushing fringe stories like Pizzagate and Seth Rich. Do you see those as connected or no?
I do see them as connected, and I'll even take it a step further. If we don't want to look at the president's tweet, we can look at what he said yesterday about seriously considering pardoning Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who is a known racist. So I really think that this is an example where the president's rhetoric does not line up with his actions. And I was happy to see him come out yesterday and forcefully and call out white supremacy, the KKK, neo-Nazis. But now we need actions to back up those words.
Brunel, how do you see it?
Good morning. God bless you and God bless America. What I will say is, as I stated yesterday, the president came out on Saturday and he blanketly said any hatred, any bigotry, whether it's on the left or whether it's on the right, is wrong. And yesterday when he came out with the statement specifically, naming KKK and not neo-Nazis, that was the cherry on top for me. And the love and compassion and the way that he expressed himself yesterday, it reaffirmed in me and so many others who have stood behind this president that he is truly taking his role as the leader of the free world seriously, and that he is the president of the United States, all of us. And so I think that we've got to move forward on this.
We just can't move past the fact that neo-Nazis and white supremacists killed someone on Saturday as a direct result of folks wanting to take down a statue of a general of the Confederacy. We cannot move past that.
You're so right about that. You're right about that. And my
so what are you asking us to
to
move
our
past?
fellow Americans who passed, as well as those who were hurt.
No.
But what I'll say is the president has come out expressly against this violence, but also too, Ms. Simone, there were people on the left who were pouring urine on journalists.
People on the left were not white supremacists.
I'm waiting for people to come out and condemn that as well. You can't just condemn one and not the other. You condemn it across the board.
Hold on. I don't want you guys to talk over each other because some of the points will get lost. So let me just reset it this way, Brunel.
Because I want to hear her.
Brunel, the two sides, the many sides argument. Help us understand it a little bit better from your perspective, because I just want to be clear. Do you see those who went there to oppose Nazis as the same as the Nazis?
I believe that, first of all, you had a situation where you had people marching. The people are saying white supremacists were marching, and they had a permit, and then you have these counter-protesters come in. And anytime you have a situation where you've got groups that are on extreme sides, there's, like I said, there should have been
that's the point I don't get. Are those extreme sides
there should have been a heavy police
Do you see that as two extreme sides? You see somebody who opposes white supremacists, who want everybody on this panel to be eradicated from the United States as being
Jesus is
as
watching.
extreme as the white supremacists?
What I'm saying is that I don't believe that in black supremacy or white supremacy or Hispanic supremacy.
Oh, well,
I believe that we should address any kind of hatred and extreme across the board. It shouldn't be something that we're, letting one get away with more than any other.
I got paid a whole lot of money to Uncle Tom the shit out of myself, and now I'm on CNN.
White supremacists were equaled by equal extremists on the other side. Do you see that as what was happening in Charlottesville?
No, I think that is a false equivalency, and I do believe that is absolutely a dangerous thing to say. This country is steeped and rooted in white supremacy. We are 2 years shy of the 400th anniversary of the first 20 slaves being brought to African people being brought to America as slaves. So there's no such thing, in my opinion, as like black supremacy and Latino supremacy and Hispanic supremacy.
That's not true.
White supremacy has killed people in this country.
We have it every day.
We fought a war a civil war in this country because people in the Confederacy took up arms against the government because they believed it was their right to own people that looked like myself and Brunel because it benefited them economically. So it is very dangerous, and we tread into
apparently somebody still owns one of them.
History waters, and when we attempt to water down what took place this weekend, these were white supremacists, these were white nationalists. But what I'm hearing, Brunel, is when you say there's no room for white supremacy, black supremacy, whatever supremacy, for me that is an equation. A lot of people
no room for electoral college supremacy.
Equating the two. That is not the same. People were lynched in this country by white supremacists.
Yeah.
No one else killed anybody, used
it's the female Paris
this weekend except the white supremacists, and we need to call a spade and a thing a thing.
If I may respond.
No.
What I'm saying to you, Ms. Simone, is that there's a lot of deep hurt in this nation, all across the nation. And we have got to move forward. We have got to get out of this, not allow this minuscule part of our population to overtake all of what's going on. We've got a president in office who is working on immigration, working on healthcare, who sympathizes with the entire nation. When Donald Trump ran for office, he stood up for people across the spectrum, and people across
we don't have a problem with racism. We have a president working on immigration.
Voted for Donald J. Trump. Black people, white people, Asian, Hispanic, Muslims, Christians put him in office. And so I take offense to people saying that, he's a supremacist and he's only for white people. The core people that put him in office.
Don't call yourself a Christian if you voted for Donald Trump. Jesus does not recognize you.
I want to take a break. When we come back, let's talk about where we are and where we think we're going to go from here. Because it could go in two different directions. So let's come back and talk about it. We'll be right back. Stay with CNN.
And you sure as fuck couldn't recognize Jesus. Hey, look at that. Some guy named the Lost Begotten also has a flame angel with Ick. I wonder if he's got a better attention span than I do. What? Now this you have to see.
Heavy. It's just a lot of pain. It's a lot to cope with.
It is. We see that you both have the shirts on to support Heather this morning. What do you want people to know about why you were there with Marissa yesterday, Marcus? Over the weekend, not yesterday. Why you were there?
Because I wanted to stand up and spread love. I wasn't going to attend the rally. But then I get on Facebook and I see videos of them just beating them with torches. And that's what I stand for. Like, I stand for my black community. I stand for everything that's what's right. And
And by me being able to see what was really going on, I couldn't allow myself not to.
Do you remember being on the street?
I couldn't allow myself not to.
Do you remember yourself being on the street and the car coming?
Yes, sir.
How do you remember it?
Yes, sir. The only thing I remember is we was walking up the street, and the car was just sitting there, just there. And then out of nowhere, I'm looking down at my phone, and then you hear the tire screech, and then I look up, and the body's just flat. And I just thought for one split second, I didn't think about myself. I thought about my fiance. I had to protect her. That's why I'm here for her protection. And I put it all in line for her.
Did you know you were going to get hit when you moved her out of the way?
There was a big chance of me getting hit, but I'd do it all over again just to make sure that everything's okay with her.
You know, Marissa, we talked about this yesterday. People are so moved by your feelings and what you told us all about your friend Heather and what she was about, and about this bond that you have with your fiance. Because, you know, sometimes in moments that are this ugly and this negative and this about the worst of human instincts, something like what happened between the two of you reminds everybody that there's an entirely different part of the reality of humanity as well. And I know how much it means to you that Marcus put it all on the line, like he says, and he really did. I mean, a car coming at you,
true love
that's a deadly weapon.
conquers
it
all.
took your friend's life. It could have taken a lot of lives. And how are you guys feeling together since that moment?
That and tanks.
I mean, we're just happy to be together.
Joke.
I was telling him last night, being at the rally, being at the counter protest, and seeing all the hate that was going on with the protesters, it made me not think that maybe the world isn't such a great place. Maybe human beings aren't so great. But ever since the event, we've gotten nothing but love and support and kindness from people all over the world, people we don't even know. And it just shows you that there is still good in the world, that I'm so lucky to have someone like him to be by my side to protect me. And we grew to love each other more and more each day, but this is unexplainable how much our bond has grown since then.
You got an advanced look at for better or worse. And you know where Marcus would be when that moment comes. For a lot of the rest of us, we promise it, you know, the husbands of the world, but we don't know if we'd be able to deliver in that moment. And Marcus, you did, and I appreciate that as somebody who's
represent
something to restore a sense of virtue in humanity coming out of something so ugly. So thank you for that gift that you gave us, and we know it caused you a lot of pain with your leg. I want to ask you about some of the ideas that are coming out of this situation. We just had on two people. And there's a debate going on about why the president was so measured in the first instance. And here's what a supporter of his will argue.
That's from California.
Well,
that guy clearly is not from California. So he looks kind of like,
and then you had the
not just because he's black, but like he got the same build, same size head,
you see people like Heather Heyer
almost the same shape head.
Responsible as a neo-Nazi for what happened down there? What do you make of that idea that people like you and your fiance and Heather Heyer, who were down there to oppose the white supremacists, were somehow equally in the wrong for being there and for what happened?
Okay, that's
the only individual that's in the wrong in this whole entire situation is the guy that ran the car into a peaceful protest. Yeah, there was a lot of wrong going on down there. But that protest that I was in, and as my fiance was in, it was peaceful. We wasn't spreading hate, we were spreading love.
Hungry anyone?
Streets.
Care for some detritus?
We don't want you here, and that's all we said. And I guess that led to the tragic event that occurred. And he took it upon himself to walk out the rally, to get in his car, to find out where the good protest was going, and you find us and you run us down. And then I feel multiple times that people saying he's 20 years old, it was an accident. He knew exactly what he was doing. His intentions was clear. He wanted pain, he wanted hurt, he wanted blood. That's what he was after. You come down to Charlottesville. Yes, everybody that was out there, we were out there at their own risk. It was at their own risk. But we was out there for standing for things that we believed in. And we wasn't out there to protest hate or anything. The only thing we was doing was stand up for things we believed in. That's all. That's all.
Marissa, yesterday you said to me that, listen, the president's got to step up. He's got to call this for what it is and do it. He says he did that yesterday. He came out and he said it. And then afterwards he retweeted some thoughts from a known fringe supporter of conspiracy theories. And then today he retweeted an article that says he's thinking of pardoning Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who's become a controversial figure in some circles. Does it bother you that after doing something that was supposed to bring people together, he then retweets a right-wing extremist, playing to those kind of fringe conspiracies or talks about Sheriff Joe Arpaio? Do you see a connection in those motives? Does that bother you, or do you think that that's just how it is?
It does bother me. It makes me question the president's motives. Was that apology, or was that calling out the white nationalists for what they were? Was that real? Were you compelled to do that? What took you so long to do it? And now he's blaming the media for starting the controversy. It was clear that that was an act of terror, an act of hate. It was done to scare the people in my city, scare the people of the world. And it's like he needed his advisors, or he needed someone else to say, you need to do this. And I don't think he did it because he wanted to. He did it because he had to. And his tweets and his comments and just everything he's been doing up until this point, since this tragedy on Saturday, it hasn't been genuine. I haven't seen it as genuine. It just seems like something he needs to do as the president, and something that he needs to do to make sure that the world just doesn't go crazy.
Wes Bellamy is a vice mayor down there in Charlottesville. We had him on the show this morning, and he was saying he likes what he sees in terms of how the people are coming together down there, that he believes that there's going to be a reaction to the negativity with positivity, referring to the president as 45. And I asked him, why are you calling him 45? Yes, he is the 45th president, but why aren't you calling him by his name? And the vice mayor said, I don't think he's earned the respect of being called president. He hasn't shown the leadership in this situation. He hasn't done what
he didn't win the goddamn election.
Marcus, do you agree with that?
No
Nothing
comment.
but a rushing puppet.
I feel no comment.
I'll comment for you.
I don't want to comment anything about Donald Trump because I don't have anything positive to say.
All right, fair enough. Marissa, how about you?
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Wes Bellamy, the vice mayor, referring to the president as 45. I asked him why, and he said, I don't think he's earned the respect to be called president.
What was the question? I got too pissed off thinking about Donald Trump. Oh, and look at that. In addition to the censorship of MSNBC uploads, they've also done a lot of that lately. As soon as the grown-up starts to speak, as soon as some wisdom starts to get spread, they cut off the video. Thanks, Shilliverse. See you in hell. I'll be looking down on you.
Players gonna play. Haters gonna hate. I'm gonna shake.
shake it off, shake it off. Why do I have that song in my head? Oh yeah, my fish has it. Cause the flame is gonna flame, 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 flame. Fish is gonna fish, 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 fish. I'm just gonna scrub, 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 scrub. Scrub it off, scrub it off. So right now I'm in the kitchen sink, scrubbing the filter from that bottom right tank, because it is going to get biologically cycled. And I don't want much excess organics causing any sort of spikes, as well as there's no need to have the bacteria that's in here, because that's reef tank type bacteria. I'm going to be using Pristine by cking to reignite this bacteria population. And it has a diverse collection of bacteria that fare well in different environments. And I formerly used Stability for treatment tanks or new tanks. And I've been using Pristine for a while in roticultures, and I think a couple of new tanks I've set up I use Pristine in. And every now and again I'll put some right in my pump to clear out the bacteria inside of it, because it's a bacteria that attacks other bacteria. It's actually pretty cool, but it doesn't populate in a reef tank very well. They say you're supposed to keep dosing it. But I'm going to do a biological filter media activation with it. And hopefully the Paragard will not annihilate too much of it. Yeah, what is that? Oh, shit. Alright, totally not reaching that. I'm getting all the detritus out. I'm actually going to leave what I can of this bacteria here. I think I'm just going to actually seed the foam. I had to clean that out in a second. And then whatever bacteria from here gets weakened by the change in environment, successive doses of Pristine should reinvigorate it, keep me from having ammonia spikes anyway. One more, forget that. So, one thing that I am going to have to address, I'm going to have to find another heater. Because this is an integrated system. I actually have an Eshops U-tube, a U-pipe, you know, in the back with a sponge pre-filter on it, and I have a bubble lift. Let's see if we can see it. Yeah, you just barely see it. That is the bubble lift that pumps water from one side to the other. It just flows back into the U-pipe. So, anyway. I'll be back. I guess that's just going to stay there. And I need to, oh God, I got to do something with these air hoses. This is going to be interesting. I still haven't caught squirm, but I need to get a bucket full of water. I'm going to go turn off my water in my kitchen. Fuck. Oh no, I'm not done in here yet. Shit. Phenomenal cosmic powers, itty bitty attention span. Okay. Now I'm just scrubbing with a toothbrush. Scrub, 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 scrub. And this is a Hagen Aqua Clear 20. That one that's on there is the Aqua Clear 30. And really, either one of these filters will work if you want to set up a small reef tank. You can run a 10 gallon on the 20, but I prefer the 30 to run a 10 gallon. And actually, I've found that the best way to set it up is a way I've never really gotten to set it up, but the necessary experimentation has been done right there in front of you. And that is the proscenium setup, where you have the aquarium viewable from 3 sides, sticking out or on a bar or something. Also known as the peninsula setup. But as you can see down here, damn it, this filter is going long ways into the tank. And I probably kept 10 gallons for 10 years with the filter on the back of the tank, and they never looked this good. What's going on here is the current doesn't have as much room to spread out. So it winds up making a very nice oval across the front, and, you know, across the top of the tank all the way to the other side and then back again. And you know, the way they used to back in the 80s, at least in the How to Keep an Aquarium book, that's the last time I read a How to Keep an Aquarium book. They would have the flow from the filter, even the AquaClear setup manuals have the flow from the filter coming around, and they show you how you get the circular motion of the tank. But the problem is most of the flow spreads out side to side. So if you set it up with the filter on the side like this, you can get great results from a 10-gallon tank. And I think that's also why those the Fluval little all-in-one, what do you call them? The little Fluval aquariums. Those guys probably work better than most hobbyists who have experience and are turning their nose up at them. I bet you they work better than they look like they do. And it's because of this effect right here. I finally figured it out. It doesn't suck. I might actually get one of those little things. I mean, they're good looking, you know. Might get one for the wife for Christmas for the office, you know. Anyway, what am I doing? Oh yeah. Heck. Back to work. Hey, check out our Navy. Fire, fire, shoot, fire. Taking out hostiles. Hey, nobody's lazy. What? Sleep? What? Torture. Okay. This little thing goes right here. This little thing goes right here. This little thing goes right here. Okay. My little face shut the fuck up. But I dropped the ball. Okay. Anyway. How much random goofy shit can one guy think of to say while cleaning a fucking filter out? This many. Alright, so we squeeze these guys back together. You know, you gotta like fluff it up from the taint right there and get all the balls in place. And then you gotta kind of squeeze the package so it fits down in there. I'm done. Okay. This guy goes on her. This guy goes on her. And I'm just gonna put that up like that. Dry out for a while. I have this flimsy piece of packaging plastic that becomes oddly useful for various things. Oddly useful in a rather skittish way, but you know, if I'm willing to risk it, I get to efficient. It's kind of like Final Fantasy. The high risk maneuver always pays off. Something like that. Hopefully, I'm not about to drop my laptop into any body of water. So yeah, flimsy thing, filter on the side, and it's gonna drain into that, and I'm just gonna like let it. Bingo. Stop hurting yourself. What the hell did you do? Probably just scratched her and hit one of his lesions. Can't believe he's 10 years old now. I wish I had more money for vets and stuff. Gotta do this just to freaking make some money. Who had two thumbs and held up the sky? You were wandering. What am I doing? Oh yeah, stuff. Okay, stuff. Sometimes stuff has to be done. Sometimes you fucking smoke a cigarette first. So I'm gonna figure out my plan of action. Maybe I've gone too far, too early, too soon. No, there we go. Is my voice kind of faint right now? I'm gonna go ahead and try to fix that, assuming that it is, considering the microphone's over there. And now I'm throwing my voice. Echo, echo, echo. I can't hear that, but I'm assuming it is what y'all, you know, this is the cause. Okay. Why are you gay? Huh.
That's 250. Okay. And then you said stream only. And then
no more echo?
No more echo? Huh? What?
Why?
Why?
What are you jumping?
What are you jumping at? Silly fish.
Am I muted?
Am I muted or echoed? Is there shit?
Oh, really?
Oh, really? Huh. Okay.
How about
now? Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
How about now? Wait a minute. What is that? What the hell? Really? Great. Okay, let me do
Undo everything I just did. Or wait. How about now? Set them on the same input. Now I really need a cigarette. Am I running out of space here? No. Alright. Less echo, quicker. Okay, this is just fascinating. Alright. Okay, so this should be how it was. Is it freaking back to normal? Oh my god, this is just kind of aggravating.
Really?
Really?
Oh. Well, thank
you very much. Okay. Elvis with fish tank sounds. No
flushing?
No flushing?
Too soon?
Too soon? Alright. I think it was actually set up counterintuitive to what I just did. So... Yep, what? Shit. Okay.
Was it fine before? Yeah, it was fine before. I just didn't. I screwed it up by trying to fix it. Big surprise there. Oh, now it's good. Seriously? Now it's good. From what I thought I understood of how to configure this crap, it's on no sources. I have no idea. No idea how the hell that happened. Oh, now you no longer hear the fish tanks? Maybe I should just perform an exorcism on the laptop. No. I don't perform exorcisms. They happen reflexively. Anyway. Like when I met George W. Bush. Alright. I'm going to try one last thing. I think. I may or may not be. Yeah, this may or may not be worthy of actually calling it a try. Because it might fail that miserably. Huh. Okay, so is this no echo and now it echoes? Sitting here trying to clean out fish tanks, sleep deprived, and now I gotta mess with my freaking microphone. You might just have to do without the fish tank noise. Okay, so what the hell does that sound like? I'm gonna get a cigarette. I'm on my fucking knees. Oh, that's not smart. Ooh, the new green bulbs turned brown. Cool. Baby Jesus in space. No fish tank, lots of echo. Okay. I'm gonna do this one figuring with the mouse. Never was a big fan of laptop things. You bet they can't just give you a freaking mixer slider, you know? Huh. Yep. How is it right now? And now? Really? Okay. Now that's the none, and this one's muted. Is this muted? Can you hear what I'm saying? Was that muted? I gotta know when I need to mute the thing, because in case I got a fart or something. Cool. All right. So, looks like Orihime has a big turd hanging out. I don't think that's gonna make her any easier to catch. Orihime. Wait. Where'd your spots go? Oh, what the hell? When I started this broadcast, she was covered in white spots. There isn't one on her. Here, I'm gonna pull up the pictures. Huh. I mean, I'll take it and all, but I suppose I'll still treat Totsky, because she still looks. They don't look that healthy in that. Okay, so did a miracle just happen, or was she just covered in sand? Have any other Aquarists actually joined me, or is my broadcast so suppressed that in all of fucking YouTube, nobody that has a saltwater fish tank ever sees this broadcast? I'm not bitter. You're not going to suffer my wrath in a week It's not going to last 7 years straight.
That just pisses me off.
I am, wouldn't you say, one hell of a content provider? Do you enjoy the air you breathe? Oh no, I was just talking about YouTube. You're welcome. Look at how I always everything happened. It's okay. You're welcome. Okay. So, I'm going to proceed as planned with moving Squirmy into the 2.5 gallon in the bedroom, because he's like the size of that right there. Okay, his like that green stripe is where his first stripe is, and he will probably only ever have a first stripe. Let's do this. Hey, look, fish. I do and I don't like the manual focus on that thing. What just got blown into my eye. Damn it. It's good to know that you heard everything about Orihime farts and my protruding turd, or one of the two. No. Yeah, scratch that, reverse it. Pretty sure. Morning, Lacey. Just in time for the high class talk. Keeping it classy all the way to Christmas. Oh, shit. Taylor Swift is going to donate, I think, the proceeds of her lawsuit, I guess, to sexual assault, to help sexual assault victims.
Gathered outside of Trump Tower, not exactly welcoming the president home. We'll always have the latest in the president's approval numbers and new low ahead. The president's approval rating is the lowest of his administration so far, according to multiple polls. Last week, we reported the latest CNN polling showing his approval rating at 38%.
Now, the latest Gallup tracking poll is even lower,
Damn,
34%. That's the lowest in his administration so far. Back now with the panel. I mean, at what point do key Republicans start to, just look at these numbers and back away?
Well, the truth is that the country is so divided that there are a lot of Republicans who just happen to be in places where Trump is very popular, right? So a lot of the senators that might be running next year are in red states where this national poll doesn't actually matter. But historically, it's really rare for a president to be that low this early.
Right.
I think Barack Obama never actually reached 34% in Gallup. It took George W. Bush to the very end of his term when the Iraq War was very unpopular, after Katrina, very, very low point in George W. Bush's term, to get to that point. So the fact that halfway through the first year he's hit that point, I mean, often when presidents hit that low, they don't really recover.
Really?
So historically, that's a tough place to be. But because of the sort of structural advantages a lot of Republicans have, that number looks worse nationally than it does district by district and state by state, and that keeps a lot of Republicans, fairly solid.
But what makes this number, I think, even more extraordinary is look at the economy.
Yeah.
The economy is in by historic standards very good shape. Unemployment is 4.3%, something like that. Inflation is low. We are not in the middle of a
Everybody
war
knows why.
with a lot of troops, which is what brought George Bush down in 2008.
The economy is expanding a little bit slower than it was under Obama. We have actually receded from 2.3 to 1.8 GDP growth in the first quarter of 2017. Obama's, beat that most of his term. And then you have what happens every time a Republican president is elected. Republicans just buy stocks because they're rich. It's that simple, folks.
7, 8. It's
Oh yeah, and now you have Russians doing it too.
all because of how Trump is conducting himself as president.
But the danger
something that I've just never seen.
But one, just to contradict myself a little bit, the danger sign in this poll is that the recent loss is among Republicans. It's among his strongest supporters.
But that's the way I'm worried about. There's a path back. And first of all, some presidents have recovered. Bill Clinton got down really low. He was in the mid-30s. And he did come back, so it has happened. But the way back here is to do stuff.
He didn't deserve
Go
it.
back and try to get health care right, pass tax reform, do the things that they ran on. I think part of the reason you're seeing a
That's before they updated polling.
the
They didn't just
Republicans
call
who
old
elected
people.
this government are concerned that the promises are not
Did
going
you know that?
to be fulfilled. And so the way you reverse those trends is to fulfill the promises. There's time to do that.
I think it was you who said several months ago on a panel we were having that if the president can accomplish two other things, he's got the Neil Gorsuch nomination.
Yeah.
If there's two other things under his belt, he can run on that.
Yeah, they're always 1 to 2
That's
issues
sad.
away from being successful. And right
If
now,
you do 3 things
the
in
most
6
recent
months.
taste in the mouth of Republican voters is, well, they failed on health care. So they got to go back and reverse that failure. I think the failure to repeal Obamacare, if left to stand, is going to absolutely depress Republican votes. So getting that right and then getting tax reform right and, infrastructure, whatever. But if you go to the midterms, having done Supreme Court, having repealed Obamacare and replaced it, and having maybe done something on tax reform, that's a very successful record. But they're not there yet. They've got to get to that point to recover.
As a Democrat, I don't have a lot of faith in these numbers as saying that Donald Trump all of a sudden is vulnerable. Because what I remember is that prior to November 8th, Donald Trump, over 60% of the American public thought that he didn't have the temperament to be president. 60% said that he was unqualified to be president. I mean, you had all of these.
And then they stole the fucking election.
Just plummeting, and he still won on November 8th. And Republicans, no matter his intellect, his qualifications, or his temperament, still came out and voted for him. And so, yeah, I would watch that Republican number, but until Donald Trump bottoms out, or until there is a Republican like a Paul Ryan or a Mitch McConnell who has the fortitude to stand up against Donald Trump and say, hey, or a donor, whomever that may be, and say, hey, you're driving the country into a ditch. And these numbers, to me, I mean, they don't indicate much.
You're right, and those numbers actually are still high for people that don't think that that Donald Trump is
is bringing up. I think in that poll also, David Callahan had brought it up earlier, that there was a question embedded in there about whether you think he's elevating the office of the presidency, and the majority of the people said no. People are looking at Donald Trump and they don't trust what comes out of the White House. Something else in that poll said that only 24% believed anything coming out of the White House was absolutely true. I mean, so the confidence in what used to be measurements that mattered is not there, but yet I think it's 79% of Republicans are still supporting Donald Trump strongly. Now, the white middle class, the non-college educated white middle class numbers, they have dropped, which is interesting, from a full, I think it was up to 79% or 73%, and it's down to 59% that strongly support Donald Trump because they're frustrated, as Scott said, with nothing being done. Well, you promised all this. He said it would be so easy to do all of these things, yet we're not reaping the results of that. We don't see it. So, Donald Trump has to be careful. Don't think that he doesn't see what's going on. They know what's going on with the polls. That's why he's going to talk about infrastructure tomorrow. That's why he talked about China today. Those are things that he knows rally the base.
We got to take another quick break, continue the conversation in a moment, talk more about what's going on with the chief strategist Steve Bannon or his days in the White House number. That's next. Chief strategist Steve Bannon is one of several people in the president's inner circle with ties to hate groups. Bannon is the former head of Breitbart, which is in the past Bannon called a platform for the alt-right. A coalition of major civil rights and faith groups has called for him to be ousted. Separate from the Charlottesville controversy, a source inside the White House tells CNN that Chief of Staff John Kelly has soured on Bannon, who's seen as pursuing his own agenda, according to the source. Meanwhile, on Meet the Press yesterday, National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster dodged questions on Bannon.
Can you and Steve Bannon still work together in this White House or not? I get to work together with a broad range of talented people, and it is a privilege every day to enable the national security team.
You didn't answer me. You and Steve Bannon worked in that same White House.
I am ready to work with anybody who will help advance the president's agenda and advance the security, prosperity of the American people.
Do you believe Steve Bannon does that?
I believe that everyone who works in the White House, who has the great privilege every day of serving their nation, should be motivated by that goal.
Yeah, please. No, that's what it says.
He got an A+ in media training right there. That was a masterful way of avoiding the obvious.
He was dodging the question while lecturing him. That was awesome.
There's all these reports Steve Bannon's on thin ice, but those reports have been around for a long time.
He has survived a lot of turnover in this White House. A few months ago, there was the same kind of, reporting and leaks that he was on his way out, and everyone thought he was about to be fired, and he survived. And then he survived, Scaramucci coming in, and they were at war with each other. And then he survived Kelly, coming in, and Scaramucci leaving. So he is the one person that has survived a lot of turmoil and change in that White House. And now we're going through another round of is he in or is he out? I thought it was very interesting. He was not at an event that was very important to him. This event about China and trade.
Right, which he'd been very involved with.
Pushed that. I mean, he's pretty policy oriented.
And he wasn't at, according to McHaven, he wasn't at Bedminster.
He was not with President.
So the question is...
Oh, Pedro, what's up, man?
And I think that what's really interesting is if Bannon leaves imminently, it's not
nothing but the
be
same
because
people.
All these liberal groups are saying he shouldn't be in the White House. It's going to be for much more personal reasons that Trump has lost faith.
The only live streams you can actually see is recommendations.
I think Bannon is leaving. I think that this whole climate
Fox News and
an exit for Bannon, and Bannon actually gave
himself
a timetable by which he would leave. So I think that kind of fits in there. I think that also one of the fears that Donald Trump has, and rightly so, is when you have someone on your team that is a wild card or a maverick like Steve Bannon, what do they do when they're on the outside, and how badly do they argue when they're not under you every single day?
Nazi.
But however, I have to go back to this because Jeffrey and I had this discussion earlier in the hour. I don't care if he's a Nazi or a white nationalist. I put them kind of all in the same category together. Steve Bannon is a cancer to America, and I have a fundamental problem with someone who is the editor-in-chief of Breitbart, who gave a platform to that type of racism, bigotry, and xenophobia, being a senior advisor to the president. So if he leaves, I'm going to send him an edible arrangement because he needs to go.
I agree. No, I agree with you. And, what Steve Bannon represents is something that I shuddered to think about, him receiving taxpayer dollars, working in the White House in that position of power and influence like that. Ryan and I were talking about, the over-under on whether Bannon was going to stay or not. And I think the difference this time is that the pressure is coming from other places. Rupert Murdoch, it was reported, told Trump that Bannon should go. There's this battle between him and McMaster and what's going on with the NSA. And Trump has come out and he has backed McMaster in his support. On the NSC, yes, National Security Council. He is showed his support for McMaster, not necessarily Bannon. And this has been going on for a couple of months now, this back and forth. So Bannon now, he's losing allies in the White House. Reince Priebus isn't there anymore. He's kind of a man on an island. And the fact that I think that, yes, he can be potentially dangerous on the outside because of his influence in the alt-right and the conservative media circles like that. That is potentially a problem because Steve Bannon, I think, has as much for himself. I think there's a certain selfish motivation here than it is with
Saturday remarks were kind of a reflection of Steve Bannon. I mean, he wasn't there. Right, but Maggie had reported in the Times today when we had her on earlier that in general, Bannon has warned the president about speaking out too much against far-right groups who are a small part of his support, but a enthusiastic.
Absolutely. Everybody should
They're
read
the ones
Joshua
who helped
Green's
steal the
terrific
election.
book, Devil's Bargain, which is about Steve Bannon and his role in the Trump campaign. And what you see is how much Bannon was the architect of using, immigration, using these issues of resentment, and the Breitbart, which Vicari was talking about, and how important he has been to creating the base that Donald Trump cares so much about. I mean, if you look at how Trump organizes his presidency, it seems all about keeping the base happy. So that's one reason I wouldn't count Steve Bannon out so quickly, because he is the ambassador to the base.
There's only one qualification for this job. Do you have the pleasure of the president? And so the dangerous thing for someone, I don't know Mr. Bannon, but the dangerous thing right now is that if it is attributed to him, the debacle that was Saturday, it makes it all too easy for a president to say, well, you messed that up, so you're out. So I don't know what's going to happen to him, but at the end of the day, reading tea leaves, external pressure, I'm not sure any of that matters. The only thing that matters, do you have the confidence and the pleasure of the president? Do you make the president comfortable on that given day? That's it. That's the only thing.
And his daughter and son-in-law.
Right.
I think it's
And
important.
he battled with Jared Kushner. They didn't get along. Hold on one second, Vicari.
So.
The president also rebuked Steve Bannon for leaking stories and, wreaking some havoc. Stories about others. He told him to knock it off.
Turn off my foot. How about that? Oh, spilling. Didn't spill a fish. That's good. He just stayed in this thing. He stayed in the little pipe. So I just took the pipe out, put it in the receptacle, and he just stayed in it the whole time. So I'm going to go move him back in the back there. I'll be right back. Doesn't look like he's gonna jump. But I need to let him temperature acclimate, because this right side aquarium down here
is much warmer than the left side. I don't know what to do about Orihime. I don't see a single spot on her now. What y'all got going on here? Stubbornness around the St. Peter thing. Yeah. Joke's on them by the time they figure out what the name means. Okay. So, I'm going to take a little photo of Squirmy right quick. Okay. Cool deal. And my new cell phone came with a charger cable that works. It actually stays plugged into the phone, as opposed to flying out of there if it queefs or what. But yeah. Billy. So let's see here. Alright, so here we have a little Squirmy. Apparently I need to copy this to the... Okay, not full screen the thing. Copy these to my phone backup stuff. I can't take you in there with me to show you what Squirmy is doing right now. So I just mistakenly thought it would be worth the effort. So I load them on here.
I'm making money entertaining a giant crowd. I gotta put forth the extra effort. Gotta earn my $12 a month. It's like $12.68 right now. Alright, so that's how big he is. He is absolutely tiny. There he is. As close as I could get it. It's too bad that wouldn't focus. But you can kind of see his jaw is very vertical. He doesn't really have a way that he can bite. And I guess the stunted growth as a result of that, it's kind of hard to believe he survived this long. But that's squirmy. That's that one little guy that's been in the right tank down there. He's over a year old and still that small. So let me go. Oh shit. One thing at a time. Okay. Let me just stand up right quick. Oh. Alright. Good. I'm good. Oh, yeah. Cigarette now. That hurt. Yeah, that is the perfect size little aquarium for him. And I guess that means I can go ahead and move my flake food back there for him. Okay, so if a person other than the same 4 people who have been joining me since I started live streaming, or not that I don't love you guys, but isn't this fucking weird? Just the same people, nobody else, just like the occasional troll checking in on us to make sure they can piss us off, and then it's just us. People get ick all the time. People search for help with it all the time. Nobody's came in here and seen, oh look, this is clearly a saltwater fish room. He's a marine fish breeder. Nobody wants to come in here and ask me about what they should do with her. Go on Louisiana Reefers or like just like a random saltwater reef post on Facebook, and you get more interaction. You get random people asking questions. You get lots of views, like 60, 30, you know, in a day. If I leave this body, it means to a certain extent I failed. So I don't want to leave this body. The idea was to come back and fix everything, okay, even death. But people like this, who've done this to somebody just trying to save the world, whether they're crazy or not, whether you agree with them or not, objectively interesting at the very least, sometimes actually informative, very occasionally a little bit funny. And just nothing, no, nobody. All right, anyway. I'm really wondering what the hell happened with that fish. She's doing quite well. I mean, as you can see, she's just swimming around eating. All she does. And that's what a fish do, you know. But like I saw her move around a bunch of times, and none of it was falling off. I don't know. She must have like moved really fast for that to suddenly fall off. And all I can think is maybe her sleeping with the Mandarin. She apparently likes to hang out with the Mandarin early in the morning, and they kind of hunt together. So they might have slept together, and she might have actually kind of gotten some of its slime, I think, maybe. And that helped the sand stick to her. I was praying, first thing I saw was, please just be sand, please just be sand. Don't be ick. Don't be ick. Bad ick, go away. Little Nazi ick horde. Bad ick. Nazis are kind of like it. Anyway, oh look, a fifth person. I bet you it's one of the Watchmen. Let me ask you this, Watchmen. So the goal of the world caliphate, or whatever y'all are trying to establish, that is basically your end goal is for that dominance to be established so that the Mahdi can reign. Okay? Well, you won. Here I am. Do as I say, children. I bet you didn't see that coming. Ah! Well, Squirmy looks happy as can be. Let's go ahead and cancel the ick operation. I think it's time to talk. Of other things. Or he may just laid that turd. It's a good sign it's time to move on. Tell him, or he may. I just laid a big turd. Right. And she put it right there by the dragon's breath, that Red's dragon's breath that I need to clean. And I guess she knows that that's going to fertilize it. That's what I call feeding the algae. So, brushel. Brushel. Keep your dragon's breath clean. Brushel. Sing, Lacey. Do you have chills? Are they multiplying? I got chills, they're multiplying, and I'm losing control for the power you're supplying. It's electrifying. We did that at the wedding, by the way. And we did summer loving too. Yeah, we did summer loving with the whole with all the bridesmaids and groomsmen, whatever those people are called. Yeah. All those other people that were there that didn't have to build everything. So, speaking of building stuff, it's about a week before a prophecy is going to come true. Or, like, basically spiral out of control, kind of. And, that's going to be kind of off topic. But, let's see here. I'm probably going to wait and move Totsky and Kenny later. I'm probably still going to move them. Because on the one hand, yeah, good. Good Orihime isn't sick. But on the other hand, I don't know whether or not it was just my Mandarin theory or whether I had just used magic. I don't always know when I use magic. In fact, when I don't mean to use magic, I'm often better at it, substantially. And I just noticed, oh crap, I reached that level of focus on that thing and didn't mean to. And it was actually doing that taught me how to gain that level of focus consciously when I can here and there. That thing. But anyways, I'm going to call this a broadcast, and then I'm going to put another one back up with another subject line. How's that sound? So, thanks for joining me, people weeples. And if you were hoping for instructions on how to combat ick, I have given those instructions plenty of time. I described them earlier in the video. But unfortunately for you, fortunately for me, especially fortunately for Orihime and the reef tank that won't have to be dismantled to catch her, we will not be demonstrating removal of fish and the commencement of ick treatment. But I might do something on that later after I've cleaned out the tank and put Totski and Kenny in there. So anyway, yeah, I know you're still singing, Lacey. Gotta love that bass line, right? Anyways. Yeah, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna put the little thing on and I'll see y'all in a little bit. Peace. Click the like button and subscribe and that good stuff. The way you treated me too many times before. Don't you know you love them, baby, too? Oh, you know I want you there, I wanna be right there with you. I know I gotta keep you by my side till the day I die. 'Cause baby, ecstasy is in my hand. Oh, when I'm holding yours in mine and walking in the sand. Oh, baby, you know it's fine. But now you done and piss me off. You ain't done something you shouldn't have done. Baby, I'm mad. I'm going on. Oh, I'm going on.
can't take it, baby. I can't take it no more.